I seen the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and I'm going to go into my thoughts and feelings. This is going to be a video that is quite unorganized, you could say. I'm just going to talk about what's on the top of my head. So yeah, let's get into it. Just two things I want to go on. The music is phenomenal. The music, they really got it down to a T, in my opinion. I think the music was great. I really arguably the best part about the movie, maybe you could say. However, I'm gonna get into more. And another thing I want to touch on is it doesn't look as bad as we thought from the trailers, like the picture and the cinematography. But it still doesn't fill me with like, this looks amazing. Like when I see more Shadow Lord animated, it was like, this is a step up in animation. I don't feel the same. I think all the sequels arguably look better. I think the prequels arguably look better. And maybe this is down to the budget. I'm pretty sure this has quite a low budget. I'm pretty sure they got about 150 million, which I don't know. I'm not really a movie goer, so I wouldn't know. I'm more of just a Star Wars fan. I'm not exactly a movie goer, just for heads up. I'm just a Star Wars fan, pretty much. I don't really watch any other movies. I'm just going to give my thoughts and feelings on Star Wars in general. And one more thing I can touch on without spoiling it is the pacing is a bit times. However, I don't think it's a massive problem personally. The critics obviously have this down as a massive problem, and I get why I understand why they think stuff like this is a massive problem. Now, I just wanted to say before I get into everything, I gave this movie time to sit. I didn't just get back and record this video. I listened to other people's opinions, and I'm just going to get into the storyline. Now, the storyline isn't the greatest in my opinion. I'm not too bothered by it because I don't think, obviously, the storylines are always important, but the music doesn't, the storyline doesn't exactly do anything bad. It just doesn't, there's no like, there's not much character development. I feel like Grogu and Mando just kind of stay what they were. If not, Mando goes back to a bit like how he was in season one. Like, we thought he was more comfortable with his helmet off, but clearly not. Or maybe he just wanted to kill the Huts. So yeah, I guess there was not much character development, and that would be why the critics don't like this movie. The critics will be harsh on that, and the critics will be looking for the highs, and the storyline doesn't exactly have many highs. It is a bit like a popcorn movie. Like, I wouldn't, maybe not a popcorn movie. I wouldn't say you have to like. There's some movies where you just like don't. You have to turn your brain off. I wouldn't say you have to turn your brain off, but there's parts. And a part of the story I really liked in the whole movie was when it was just silent, pretty much, because Mando was obviously not awake, and Grogu obviously doesn't speak. So it was pretty much there was like need what 5-10 minutes of the movie just being completely silent, pretty much, which I actually quite liked. I know the critics probably won't like that, but it's just something different, something we never really seen before, and I didn't mind that part of the storyline. I think killing the Huts, I didn't mind that. People were really annoyed at that. I don't understand why people are so annoyed at that. Obviously, Grogu going out, setting off to find obviously their friends, and Mando, obviously they found friends straight away. And we see the use of Force here, which I don't mind Force here as much as other people do. The thing is, I'm pretty sure it was Rey that used it in the Rise of Skywalker, and now it's Grogu. Like, how does Grogu know just if he puts his arm there when over, I'm pretty sure over hundreds of years, maybe I'm just having a complete brain fart when it comes to canon. However, wasn't it for like hundreds of years they didn't discover Force Heal? Now Google can do it, Ray can do it. I'm pretty sure Kylo did it at one point. No, maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Kylo like transcelled himself into Ray. I can't remember the Rise of Skywalker, to be completely honest with you. I don't want to remember the Rise of Skywalker. This is definitely a better movie than the Rise of Skywalker for me. I'm not saying people can't have their opinions, but I think overall the story was average 5 out of 10, maybe 4 out of 10 if you're being harsh, 6 out of 10 if you're being nice. Yeah, the storyline wasn't anything to show about, and I've just went into a large part. I know this is quite long, this part, and I know I touched on it earlier with the non-spoilers. However, I want to touch on the pacing again. Now, the pacing is awkward. I think like they made it quite obvious that this is a couple episodes into a movie, and that's why the critics don't like it. I think this might be on purpose, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have just messed up here. However, I feel like this was slightly on purpose to have this mashed up pacing. The pacing does go is quite slow at times and can get slightly boring at times, you would say, which isn't the best thing, obviously, if a movie's boring at times. However, I don't think that inherently makes it poor. And there was, I can't remember what moment it was. There was a time in the movie where I just wanted to, like, I thought, I can't really remember what it was because I wasn't noting things down. When I watch stuff on Disney Plus, I usually, well, when it came to Martial Lord, I noted everything down that I wanted to talk about. However, with this, I wasn't really on my phone in the cinema and I didn't note things down. But there was like a couple minutes, let's say a stretch of 4 or 5 minutes. Just let's get on with this. Let's get going. Which remembering that probably doesn't do the fake pacing the best favors. However, I didn't think the pacing was too bad. I don't think it's shocking like some of the critics say. I think the critics are going too heavy on it. I think it's quite obvious, in my opinion, that they're trying to make this, oh, here's this part, oh, we're going on this part, make it very kid friendly. This is Star Wars is kids' movies. However, this really indulges in it with for kids. I feel like if you want to show someone Star Wars for the first time, this is one of the better movies to do it. Because when it comes to movies like, I don't know, Rogue One, probably a really bad Star movie. Return of the Jedi, arguably a bad Star movie, maybe. I can't really think of too many others that are awful Star movie. However, I do think Mandalorian and Grogu is a good movie to start at, which obviously that doesn't make it a good movie. But if a kid's going to the cinema for the first time, they're going to be happy with what they're getting. In my opinion, I think a kid's going to be happy with what they've got, and I think Disney have accomplished what they wanted. Now, in my final thoughts, I'm just going to ramble on anything I can talk about and think upon for a couple minutes. Now, my thoughts on the movie. What do I think about it? I think it's good. I came out of the cinema thinking it was great. However, looking back at it, I think I was just getting a bit ahead of myself because Star Wars is back in the big screen. It was a good movie. They played it really safe, and I don't know if this will appeal to the casual viewer because it's just Star Wars. I mean, there was no good character development. It wasn't like a hit. Personally, I would definitely rank it to the bottom half of Star Wars movies, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. There's plenty of good Star Wars movies, and I liked it. I mean, I thought it was great, but looking back at it, I think it was just good. I don't think the story had too much about it. There was no real character development. There was a bit of jeopardy, I guess, at points. One Easter egg I noticed, I don't know if anyone else noticed. Obviously, I've seen the Easter eggs now, but the only one I really noticed, thinking back on it, was R2. Seeing R2D2 in the background. Well, it must have been R2. And yeah, I thought that was quite cool. That's the only Easter egg I'm picked on upon. The others I'm not going to speak about because I didn't notice them, to be honest. I didn't know most of the Easter eggs, which that's probably just me not being much of a moviegoer, maybe because maybe I just don't have an eye for these things. Getting back to the point, I just thought it was a good movie, bog standard, no real risk. That's the word. No real risk. They didn't really try to do anything special, which is that was that direction, clearly. I think the movie's going to come out alright for what they wanted. Obviously, the critics don't like it. I'm pretty sure the audience, I've seen mixed reviews again by the audience, but I'm pretty sure it's doing quite well on reviews, which is alright, which is a good thing. Obviously, we want Star Wars to do well, but I just thought reviews a bit safe. It was just a re-entry point. They didn't want to come out with like the worst thing ever. I mean, I've definitely seen worse Star Wars movies in the past, and they didn't really try to take any risks. They didn't try to develop the characters that I've spoke about. They just wanted a bland, good story. Well, not a good song, but it was a good movie. I'd just say it was a bland story. The music, as I've touched on, was spot on. The music was great. The cinematography, you had shots where some shots looked amazing, and other shots just looked meh. There was one shot, oh my god, it was probably the best scene looks wise in Star Wars, in my opinion, arguably. And you can see like the reflectiveness of the puddle. That was by far the best scene in the whole movie when it comes to looks wise, in my opinion. And yeah, overall, I like the movie. I mean, I'm gonna have to like thank it because I would say I'm quite easily pleased. And as long as they don't do anything really bad, then usually I'll just come out and say it's a good movie. I'm not really the harshest person when it comes to stuff like this. And I know the budget wasn't too high. Yeah, they probably made profit on this movie. Well, they probably not yet, but they're probably going to make profit on this movie because they didn't really spend much. The expenditure wasn't really there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and give me your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? Where would you rank it in all Star Wars movies? And yeah, if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe.